All right, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM players, and I don't have to say anything else, do I?
If we've reached that level of status already,
Well, when it's just you and me,
yeah, well, that's right. If you're saying it to you and me, then it's easy enough to understand what that means.
We are the CRM players, and even though we don't understand what this means, we have been bringing something called the as since 2009.
Again, always bringing that as. Where is it?
We got to be careful about how you say stuff like bringing
I
that
know.
as.
I know. Bring in the. Maybe we should say bring in the arc. In other words, we go from Arizona to Arkansas instead. AI is eating up CRM, right?
What language is that?
English. I got it right. Yay! I'm back on target.
Come on, the moment is fin is not a question. It's
No,
like
this
a
is
language
Sven.
thing.
This is the question of Sven, not the moment of Sven.
Hmm.
We'll answer the question though, given our guest.
What was that software was eating up something else way back in the day, right?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Software.
remember Andreessen said software is eating up or something. The world? Wasn't that? I know I'm not making that one
No,
up.
I'm sure you're right. I just don't remember.
We could go for an easy week there, Sven.
Yeah, I think both of us are kind of ready for an easy week, and probably you too, Sven. So you're right. Sven. You are very wise. We will go for an easy week. We'll take that as the moment of Sven, and we'll say English, so we know we're right on that. So that makes it very easy. And then when Michael comes on, oops, I'm not giving away anything, I guess.
Yeah, it's a regular.
We'll get your question answered.
I am really, yeah, I am. I don't know. I know. I think it was Andreessen who said software was eating the world or something like. Somebody look that up. I'd hate to be wrong about that, but it seems like I remember that. So if software ate the world up, like I don't know, a decade ago or maybe longer than that, what is AI doing to the world? Like melting it down? Or...
There's not, yeah, it's becoming the immersion blender. It's turning into
Wow,
mush.
the turning us into mush. That's what it feels like. But we will be talking. We'll be talking about that a little later because
Whoa! So
it's Third
Forbes
Thursday.
magazine, listen to this.
Yep.
Forbes magazine on May 27 has an article entitled "Software Ate the World: AI Ate Software, and Now."
What is there?
Philosophy. Wait. Okay.
Oh, there's the dot, dot,
Philosophy is
dot.
now philosophy is eating AI.
Philosophy is eating
I
AI.
didn't read the article yet, so I have no idea what they're talking about, but got right to the heart of what we're talking about right
So
away.
software did eat the world. When did it say that happened? Like,
Well, the problem is I had my ad blockers up, so it wanted me to disable my ad blocker, and I didn't want to spend the time doing it. So,
but it software ate the world, and then AI did what again?
ate software, and now
Ate software.
philosophy is eating AI.
Wow, how did philosophy?
No idea. It's actually an article that's probably worth reading just because I don't get it
Who
either.
wrote that? Isaac Newton? I mean, I guess he wouldn't be philosophy. It'd be more like who's like one of your greatest. Name your favorite philosopher?
Mine? Oh,
Yeah.
I have several, but I can name two or three. I can't name one because they all have different purposes. One of them is Plato. I love Plato. I can explain why, but probably no time. The other one is another one is Hegel, GWF Hegel, German critical philosopher, who helped me decide on many things in my life. And a third one, it, he's he's sort of a philosopher. He's a philosopher and a scientist and everything. Is my all-time favorite. Every man. I mean,
Yogi Berra?
my all-time. Let me rephrase that. My all-time favorite Renaissance man, but not from the but he predated the Renaissance.
Alan is saying Bob
Roger
Dylan.
Bacon.
Roger, okay. Was he related?
Not Francis though.
I was going to say, was he related to that Sir Francis dude? Or
nope, not a bit.
Alan is saying his favorite philosopher is Bob Dylan. I can see that.
I can, except that almost every concept of his came from somewhere else. He just knew how to sing it.
Yeah, sorry,
Sing it
but
and say it.
he can't sing anymore. I'll tell you that much. I don't know what that dude is saying.
Do you have a favorite philosopher?
Yeah, comes from right from Minneapolis.
And that's a guy who barely said 2 words.
Oh, he said a lot.
Well, he sang a lot of words.
Well, he said a lot. That's not the reporters.
Right.
And a lot of his guitar playing says a lot too. So.
Yes. Well, that I go with.
AI philosophy is going to eat AI.
Well, I did disable my ad blocker.
I don't see that at all, but I would love to dig into that. Philosophy is going to eat AI.
3 pillars of AI philosophy: rethinking business value through a philosophical lens, the automation augmentation divide, competitive reality, Palantir's secret weapon isn't AI, it's philosophy. That almost automatically disqualifies us.
So somebody wrote this because they were thinking of Palantir.
No, I don't think so. But
how they
let's see where the guy
operate.
comes from. His name is her name. I guess it's her. Josipa Magic Predin.
Why has been asking this?
It's a she, and she's a venture capitalist.
Okay. But why is Ben asking, do you have a favorite? What is this?
What's he asking? Wait, I was on the article. So he's just playing.
You have a favorite NFL team? Come on.
He knows. He knows the answer.
Are you guys playing tonight?
No, we're playing Sunday night football. We're playing against the Chiefs. So we're trying to help the Chiefs go 1-3, 1-2.
0-3. You might.
Yeah, no, we're trying. Knowing us, we're trying to help them go 1-2. I mean, our offense last week was fantastic. It really was. It was real. Our offense. Russell Wilson made one crucial error in the overtime, but nonetheless was spectacular. And our receiving core showed what they could do. And the guys who were our running backs were solid as rock. But our defense, which was supposed to be our strength, gave up everything. So.
Well, Russell had a great day until that last pass.
Yeah, I didn't get that. He just kind of
heaved it up without even looking.
Rookie mistake.
He just heaved it up.
That's what I mean. It was like a rookie mistake. He knows better than to do that. Throw it down if you want to do something.
I mean, he acted like he didn't have anything to lose, but the game.
Yeah, but the game. Problem, of course, is our defense didn't stop it. Neither did theirs, to our credit. But our defense didn't stop a thing, right? Couldn't stop them. And with 25 seconds to go and us ahead, we should have won the game, regardless.
It was a good game. It was a great game to watch.
It was very exciting, but wrong outcome, but very exciting.
So there you go, Sven. You got a little football there. There was a time with so much. What?
Oh, he means quiet, not quite.
I know what he means. We're in the middle of the season, or we're just at the beginning. I do not like talking about Rams games, so that's Anyway, moving on. So it is the third Thursday of a month, or the month, and for the second time, that means we will be having our buddy, our AI. Could we could even call Mike our AI Sherpa, because he was like,
yeah, why not?
Because he was like, well, long before people even knew how to say,
even knew how to spell AI.
Yeah, even knew how to AI. I've used that one several times. Or when all the focus was not on AI, he was our AI guy.
Always.
And so every third Thursday he joins us, and we have I want to, it would be easy to have like a kind of a nuts and bolts kind of stuff. But yeah, let's do maybe this is this philosophy thing that came up. Maybe this is an opportunity for us to get a little in the clouds, maybe a little bit with some of this stuff.
That means sometime while we're talking, I'll read the article.
But I mean, I don't, everybody is talking about AI, and a lot of it is about like the same kind of stuff. Let's use this to do something different with Mike. I know he's probably gets asked the same, probably routine questions all the time. Let's figure out a way to like throw him off. Let's do something that might have make him even him think outside the box about this. I actually got one, and I it kind of fell upon me when I was talking to Peter Graff last week at Gemini Genesis, and you know, this guy got his degree and all that kind of stuff 30 years ago. So I was like, I asked him a question, and I'm going to ask that same question to our buddy when he comes on. So I'm holding it in like my stomach.
Okay. Works for me.
That was supposed to be a joke.
It wasn't funny.
Thanks for the brutal honesty.
I can see you holding in your stomach.
Anyway, so you had your second game on? Was that yesterday?
Yeah, we did. It was really good. So I put out this thing. We didn't get a ton of responses, but it was okay. I put this out on LinkedIn on behalf of me and Todd, which was, hey, okay, LinkedIn people, fess up. Those of you who are gamers, let us know if you're gamers. Let us know what games you play and how it's impacted your life, right? If it has, if it has, how? So I got like 8 or 9, I think, responses, 7 or 8, something like that. But one of the response, we had some that I reached out to. There weren't really that, but there was one guy who I've actually connected up with, who name is, I think, Matt Bennett, who runs this Australian camp but it's basically using video games to teach, but it's done in a really, really interesting way. So future show kind of possibility. But there is this friend of mine, and I think you probably know him or met him probably at a Dreamforce or something. He actually worked for Jesus, right, at Salvis. His name is Valentin Valle, right? And Valentin says he's a gamer, and he starts going through the games. His big game was Halo. And he was talking about Jane McGonigal, who wrote a book back in 2011, I think, called "Reality is Broken: How Gaming Will Save the World," or something like that. It wasn't quite that dramatic, the second part, but it was like that. Anyway, he mentioned her, so we thought, I reached out to him and said, "Hey, Valentin, you want to come on?" So he came on. We had a really fascinating discussion. It turns out he actually and his wife are running kind of a gaming development studio. It was in Andreessen. It was in the article too. And Jensen Huang was the one who said, "And AI is eating software," right?
Yeah, I thought so. Okay, I thought it was. I'm right.
You were right about Andreessen on software ate the world, and then Jensen said, "And now AI is eating software." And this other person saying, "And now philosophy is eating." It's not really saying that to run the brief glance at the article, but we can get into it later.
He made he made it so intriguing that we have to kind of check the article out.
Oh yeah, we'll do it. We can do it. But we brought Valentin on for the last half hour, and Todd and I just sort of shot the breeze on a number of different pretty relevant topics on business models and engagement and community, and basically came up with another 30 or 40 shows in the meantime. Well, that's what happens. It's like so many subjects that we keep bringing up that are a full show level. The one thing I will announce is we're going to add a segment that'll start probably with the next show. It's called Level Up. And it's going to be about, the impact of gaming on sort of like what we asked Valentin, but on leadership. And the broader show will still be to talk the business models and customer engagement and that focus. But we're going to have a segment where we talk about leadership and leadership skills or thinking or capabilities that they developed from their gaming history. And we'll have people come on and talk about that. So it was really fun. And we have the other thing that's interesting is it was not tons of comments, so just a few. But the interesting thing was, aside from the comments being there, they were from people don't interact with us normally. Like one of the things with our shows is we know half our audience, probably less than half, but we know our visible audience, the ones who comment, are people that we regularly see. A lot, not everybody. We always have some new people. This one, so far in the 2 shows, almost everybody minus 1 or 2. Like Ryan Zuck was on the first show. I mean, commenting on first show, but almost everybody was a different person. So it's drawing in a new audience for us on the B2C side who was interested in the B2B side. So we'll see how that goes.
That's good. I would like to nominate Rob Pinkerton to be a guest on our show.
Oh, he's in if he wants to,
because he's talked about gaming when I did a few good minutes with him earlier this year. I think he would fit in perfectly with you guys. So
I will pop him a note and see if he's interested. I know Todd's in. He wants B2B people on first, which I agree with, to start breaking down the barrier a little bit too. So I will reach out, talk to Rob.
So we had a happy hour yesterday.
Yeah, I heard about it.
Oh, you did? What'd you hear?
Dean told me.
What did Dean say?
Because he was about the.
He didn't talk a lot. It was funny, is because I think if I had to guess, it was Steve, Gilmore, Anand, and probably me talked the most, and everybody else is kind of just laying back.
Well, the way Dean put it, because again, I don't really know the actual content. I just know how Dean told me about it. And it was due to a coincidence based on, because he had to leave early to go to a call, which then kind of covered that subject without anybody, without Dean mentioning. He was saying pretty much the polite version of what he said, I guess. Best way to put it was people were kind of, he didn't say going off, but were not particularly thrilled with Salesforce's attempt to integrate AI and their means of presenting it. I'm being sort of polite, but leaving out a little bit. But
yeah, but it wasn't just them, but it was, they've been the poster child for SaaS, right. Enterprise SaaS in particular, for like the better part of 2 decades, or maybe 2.5 decades. I don't know. So of course they kind of get the brunt of everything. Yeah. But I think it was kind of, generally speaking, and maybe this isn't something that we could talk about with he's not a guest, he's our guy. He's our Sherpa.
Yes, he is.
He's our AI Sherpa. I'm looking to see what his expression is when I said that. So it all is kind of still triggered around that conversation we had a couple of weeks ago about why is it that companies that are like enterprise, or not even enterprise, but just like software using AI companies, or like they're building software into their offering, like a Salesforce, like a Adobe, some of these other companies that have been around forever and have huge customer bases, have, I think, done a pretty good job of integrating AI into their platforms, but financial investors are killing them. Whereas the kind of the infrastructure AI folks, they are the ones making the killing. And yeah, so we kind of use Salesforce as one of the main kind of talking point. And there's another reason for that, but we don't have to get into that right now. I think you know what that is.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, the term heads, and all that kind of stuff. But after thinking about it a little, and maybe we can talk this around when we bring our guy on. I started thinking about something that I heard at Genesis last week, not a concert, the company.
Phil Collins said this.
Yeah, well, Phil Collins said it, then I definitely don't believe. No, I'm just kidding. I like Phil's voice.
I do too.
There's something in the air when you listen to Phil. But Tony Bates, when he was talking during his keynote, what did I say that? When he was talking, what is he not going to be talking during his keynote?
When he was sitting there saying nothing, was projecting.
But he was using hand
telepathically during his keynote.
He was doing hand signals and
telepathically projecting.
But one thing he did say, which I thought was really interesting, is like, generative AI is, its main purpose was like create images and text and stuff like that. But it didn't do anything other than that. Whereas the agentic stuff, it actually reasons, it infers, it can take action, it can do it autonomously. So there's a lot more going on with agentic than there ever was with generative. And I was like, I wonder if that's part of why the companies that seem to be doing, maybe having a better go at it when it comes to selling their story to the investor community, maybe that's because there's actually more meat for them to sell versus companies that kind of are perceived to be more heavy on the generative side of the house, where it's nice that you can create some summarizations and create some poems and some images, but it doesn't do anything on its own unless you tell it, like what agentic is setting up to be.
Yeah, on the one hand, I get what Tony Bates is saying, and honestly, though, I think he's exaggerating a little bit. The reality is, and it goes, actually, what you're saying is more accurate than what he's saying, right? Which is, look, generative AI did do things besides make image. He kind of trivializes what it did.
Well, I might have trivialized even what he said.
Well, but you get my point, though. Yeah. I mean, but to your point, you had to build your prompts and send a message and tell generative AI what to do. The value of agentic AI is that it automates and learns, right? And it can learn via its automation, okay, as opposed to still having to feed it. Now, that said, the more advanced levels of Gen AI also learn. It's not that they don't learn, but again, you have to prod and poke Gen AI, where agentic AI, the whole idea is that you don't, right? So I don't think he's like breaking up almost like two separate, or at least the way you described it, it was like two separate things. It's not. There was no agentic AI without generative AI either, right? They triggered the next level. I think agentic AI is fascinating. I think, I don't know if it leads to AGI or not. I don't care at this point. I'm not sitting here doom and glooming the world on it. Human beings is what's making the world bad, not agentic AI, right? So, and I think it's absolutely in advance. But, honestly, when I hear companies like Genesis or the other Salesforce or any of the companies say things like that, it's just self-serving because they're doing it, right? And I don't demean generative AI. I mean, I use it as a consumer all the time for everything. The thing I've been working on today was just my hobby thing, the home automation thing. And I built a Raspberry Pi little device because I'm trying something. And I had Claude walk me through, not all of it, but most of it. And it was flawless. And I would say, hey, I don't get this. He said, oh, well, do this then. Try this. If that's not working, do this instead. Or let's look at that. I mean, it was actually pretty good. But it was conversational. It did what it was supposed to do. With me providing input, it provided me with output and input, meaning, hey, I need to know this. If you want me to do this, I need to know this from you, meaning you're missing this. I can't do it until you tell me. Again, who was the one you were talking about the other day? I think it was you, who basically said AI is basically just putting down words. It's not really, I forget who it was. Somebody just said
I don't think it was me.
Yeah.
I could have said something like that. I don't know.
Well, the basic concept was not wrong, meaning AI is not thinking in a creative way. It's responding to getting what it needs to do what you asked, right? And agentic AI is getting what it needs. Look, here's the key thing, though, and Tony Bates shouldn't forget this. You know how we always say at the end of every B is C? Well, prior to every agent is a human. Nonetheless, the agentic AI has to start. It doesn't just start itself out of the blue doing what it thinks it's supposed to do, right? It's been created by something. It could be another piece of AI, but not without human input. If you have a company that's saying we have agentic AI for sales operations, agentic AI didn't come to them and say, "Hey, I have this amazing idea for a sales operations flow. I can build. I'll build it, and then we'll just do it."
No.
Somebody told them to do it.
Yeah, and just to be, they emphasize heavily AI is meant to be used with a human, and so I don't want to make and put that on anybody, and I swear I look at it too. So I just want to make that clear before we should actually, since we're talking about this stuff, let's bring out the guy who knows more about it than us combined and then some.
Who might that be?
We need like an intro trailer, like something with Anand's voice. Here he is.
We can do that.
We need to do something like that. Because just you and I saying, "Hey, it's Michael Wu," it doesn't do him justice. We'll more.
Have Chanel. Well, you know what? We'll have Chanel talk to Michael and design it. We'll have a little intro trailer for him.
Why talk to him? Let's just get some generative AI to.
We'll talk to agentic AI and say, "Go do this, and if you mess it up, just learn and figure it out yourself. Figure it out yourself, and let us know."
Yeah, and in the meantime, here's Michael Wu.
Hey man, how you doing?
Dude, my hand was still disappearing. So.
Yeah,
wow.
That is playing
virtual wall is not doing I got a light, so now it's a little bit brighter. So
well, actually, what it is your because of the missing pieces, your cheeks turn like light. They turn light. They're like light versions of gray, but it's from the light. You can kind of tell it's reflective gray, I guess is the only way to put it.
Okay, let's try and see if this is better.
That looks actually a lot better.
Let's see if your hands disappear. Try moving your hand.
No, so much better. So much better. And also that brick thing, so many people use it. Like Creatio uses that every time I talk to them on the phone. So, when did you go to Creatio?
We're going to have to give you a special what do we call it? Taking the lid off AI background so that we know. Oh yeah, and that's a nice one too.
How many hats like that do you have?
About 35, 40.
Ooh, this is like Rams hat territory.
No, it isn't. You still got a ways to go.
Like 1/3. 1/3.
Anyway,
I can't compare with Brent.
All right. So first of all, thanks again for doing this and coming back. We were kind of afraid after the last one might have scared you, but we're glad to see you back. I have a very specific question, and I think it goes back to us. So I was just hanging out with Genesis, their chief strategy officer at their event last week, Peter Graff, and he's been involved with data science and all that kind of stuff. I think he said it, got his degree in the early 90s, like 92 or so. It's over 30 years. And as I was talking to him about, some of the stuff that I'm sure we'll be talking about here, it just hit me because he was saying it in a way, he was talking about these things and he was saying it in a way he just says, got a lot of passion. He's got a lot of energy around it. I mean, he's just kind of almost sort of like bouncing off the walls, but he wasn't doing that, but he was kind of like that. And so I just said, you've been doing this stuff for like 30 years. Why are you still so excited about this stuff? Why isn't it time to walk away? And he said something I didn't anticipate him saying. He's like, look, this stuff is finally getting cool. I've been a nerd for the last 30 years, and now you want me to walk away just when it's getting cool? Heck no, I'm in it. So you've been around. I don't think you've been around that long, but you've been doing this stuff for decades at least. Why are you still so energized by what's going on?
Well, I mean, I always say that I've always been energized. I mean, not just get energized. So even before it was cool, I'm still very energized. So back in the days, when at Lithium, or even before I joined Lithium when I was in graduate school, I mean, I'm always fascinated about things that learn, that evolve. In a way, I feel like I have some kind of gift for understanding those type of system, right? I mean, so in a way, like a lot of people say I can make things explainable, easy to understand, and things like that. Because I can understand how humans learn. Because one of my background was neuroscience, and back then I used machine learning and statistical methods, right, to model the human brain, and essentially using machine learning to understand how human learning work, right? And now it's like I'm, doing it full circle, right? Like we're trying to understand using, explaining to people, in human language how these machines actually learn and work. So,
Nice. I think, Paul, are you reading that article?
I read it.
Okay, so we can. This is going to be interesting. So, I just, for whatever reason, I don't even know why I brought this up earlier during the show at the beginning. Like, it was what's his name? I already forgot his name. The guy that I said Andreessen, Mark Andreessen. He said, I don't know how long ago he said this, but he said software is going to eat the world. And then apparently, I guess sometime relatively in the kind of the recent future, or recent, oh my God, recent past,
someday soon,
the recent future, the recent past. Yeah, Jensen Huang. Yeah, we'll tell him what it say before he said. No, he said, I guess sometime in the last year.
Well, he reiterated Andreessen's comment.
Yeah, he said,
and now.
Yeah, so if software ate the world, AI ate software. And then this article person. Yeah, then this article person who I don't know who it is, and Paul's feverishly reading it right now. It's a she, right? She said, if all of that is true, then what's going to eat AI is philosophy. And that just threw me for a loop. And I wanted to get your thought on it. But Paul, if you read it more through this, maybe you can give us a little bit more meat on what this person is talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded ridiculous when I first saw it, but it actually, I get her point, right? She's a venture capitalist, by the way.
Oh, so, God, you gotta take that with a grain of salt, then, right?
Right. Well, she's not. It's not stupid. I mean, she's basically it's a little. I think she's, as you'll hear me explain, you'll understand this. I think she's trying to mimic too much of human thinking and applying it to the AI a little too much, right? She's taking areas of human. Now and so there's a lot of linear stuff in the article, although I get her fundamental point. Her fundamental point is basically this. AI, and she uses Gemini, I think, as an example. She said, when people but when you boil down to, you'll hear the humans are really the ones responsible for what you're going to hear.
Yeah.
She basically said, okay, for example, what happened with Gemini? Gemini had to retool basically the LLM because of DEI, right, versus historical inaccuracies, and there was a decision made somewhere to make the say, okay, we're better off with historical inaccuracies than this DEI thinking, right? And which is actually, aside from its real world implications, is a philosophical decision too, right? Meaning it's an outlook, right? It's an outlook that's being imposed into an LLM. She then takes it to considerations, and I'll have to read you a little of each of these, just real short, but I'll read you a little of each of these to understand it. But she's trying to apply then philosophical concepts to AI models and what AI models will have to consider in the course of their activity. So she mentions some very fundamental philosophical pillars. One is called teleology, which is purpose, and that's, she says, the way she puts it, and I'm going to give her our AI version of it. All right, what is the AI actually trying to accomplish? AI systems need clear, prioritized purposes to provide boundaries and constraints. Without this clarity, organizations risk, quote, teleological confusion that can derail entire initiatives, which she really means when she says teleological confusion, if I'm interpreting it right, is if organizations don't understand the purpose of the outcome of the output, they could actually mess up, is what she's kind of saying pretty badly. Mm-hmm. The second one is ontology, and that's the nature of being. And that's one I became well acquainted with all my time. Now, It says, how does, now keep in mind the words she used here. How does the organization define and categorize this world from customer segments to business processes? AI requires consistent frameworks for understanding reality. And the third one, which I literally taught a course of in history of this, is epistemology, the nature of knowledge. What knowledge informs these categories and purposes? Understanding how concepts like customer experience are defined becomes crucial as AI redefines the vocabulary of value creation. And she kind of plays off of that. But if you really think about what she's saying is human beings have to have an AI, a framework with an outlook for what, for AI models, or AI is going to mess up. And, you know, she's trying too hard with the article, I think. And does that mean philosophy AI? Her reasoning being, obviously, AI is not going to function unless these things are done properly. It's not going to function properly unless these things are done. The outcomes are going to, it's the same thing. Bad input leads to bad output.
Yeah,
right?
I was going to say, or the bad input coming from whoever's philosophy,
right,
that could kill AI in her,
but it might be consistent with what they're looking for from the AI, right? Which is the other side. She's kind of going there too. She doesn't really say that, but that actually is those three pillars, which her words. It does consider that. She's trying too hard to make it. She's making it very linear, but ultimately she's really talking about human inputs, right? And so let's take that to the real question was, and it actually is Brent's comment, is the real question, is let's say somebody who by some other person's or people's definition is morally bankrupt, and they might actually be by social definition. How does that get handled when it comes to AI? Because AI is going to have universal applicability somewhere, meaning, okay, they develop, this person, these morally bankrupt organization develops, models that help this morally bankrupt organization, which are then used across many, many places, across many words. And the outcomes are going to be things that fit the, morally bankrupt philosophical dogma. So how do you even think about that? Do you just sort of take it in stride and say, it is what it is, you can't really stop it? Or is there something you do to, I don't know if you can call it prevent it, but to at least mitigate it? I'm not sure you can really prevent it, entirely. You can pass laws, but our administration doesn't even follow the laws. So
there's definitely ways you can mitigate it. I mean, there's preventing it is always challenging because there's the statistical nature, the probabilistic nature of these language model, or generative AI in general. It makes it kind of, really not an easy way to kind of prevent anything. I think because there's a lot of just inherent indeterminism in these models, even though I think, there are companies actually started, by one of the, Mira Moradi, who she was the CTO of OpenAI. I think she's thinking the company's thinking machine is actually tackle precisely this problem of indeterminism. These are the indeterminism is actually, making these models not suitable for a lot of enterprises because they're just inherently indeterministic. But so let me. Where's my train of thought go?
Oh, you're trying to figure out.
I got distracted because this.
I think your Wi-Fi is
delays here.
Yeah, I think the Wi-Fi is kind of making it.
Yeah, the mitigation. So I think the beauty of these AI systems is the fact that they can learn, right? So the fact that you can learn, that means you can actually teach it, even though it has these inherently biased or even wrong concept of certain things, right? In a way, that's how we deal with this through retrieval augmented generation, right? So these are these large language models, they may not know anything about your company. It's been trained with knowledge is out there in general, but they can read right? And you can give it a bunch of documents, and ask it to read it first before you actually answer, or you actually tell them that you can only answer the question based on what you have read, right? So that's retrieval augmented generation. You're using information retrieval to augment these the generative AI, before you actually generate the answer. So yeah, so there's definitely ways to mitigate these type of, I would say, in bias or incorrectness. It's just more work, right? It just doesn't work out of the box, right? It's better if you could train it to be unbiased, but because the data that we use to train it is biased. There's just no easy way to train it in a way that's unbiased. So yeah.
So but here's the thing. So one of the things that comes to mind, because ultimately, let's say some horrible organization develops a substantial large language model that actually has, it's used outside the institution itself, which is what we're talking about when you see the Gemini issue being. I'm not saying Google is a horrible organization. I'm just saying that there's a large language models that are being used outside of just Google, right? It's being used by a lot of people, including me. So what about, because this is one thing that I always think about, standards. I mean, like a standards body, which is a big mitigation factor. Like when WCCW came around, it really did change how the internet did what it did, right? Meaning people, now a lot of the standards are more the combination of, common definition and common outputs and rules of engagement, which is kind of where that would be. What about developing an AI standards body, which would basically say, okay, you got this, because again, every human has some sort of philosophical outlook, one way or the other, and I don't care who you are. A team of humans at a company with a plan, whatever it is, business plan, social plan, whatever, and developing AI is going to develop it according to plan, right? So what about a universal body of standards, like a standard in like the internet one was, something like that? And would that be
I think you could do it, but I think, again, the fact that these AI can learn, right, it also makes them corruptible again, right? So you could learn the perfect, world would be completely unbiased through this standard, right? But it's just as easy for someone to take that and just train them a bunch of, really bad stuff, and then it would be bad, So there's flexibility and malleability of the system is a strength and also a weakness, right? So it's a matter of like how you manage that, right? I mean, so
well, I mean, I guess it creates sort of a problem generally anyway, which is, I mean, you think about when you have a universal body of like a universal meaning worldwide body of law, or some like the United Nations or the Hague Court, nobody listens to either of them. Right. So, I mean, the UN had some enforcement, and theoretically Hague can enforce, but that's just not how the world works. Right? I mean, a Hague criminal charge resulting in guilty, the guy just doesn't show up for his sentence. And then what are they going to do? They're going to send the Hague, army or police? There isn't any. Right. So
flexibility.
Yeah. So that's the downside of all of this, is that, I think. But this, I mean, again, the fascinating thing to me is AI is big enough to even have that kind of discussion.
Yeah, I think there will be some regulatory body, like kind of being established. I think I think the challenge right now is that I think we're sort of in a kind of AI arms race right now. So nobody wants to, develop this regulatory body, right? Because if you regulate it, anyone who regulate is going to somehow slow down or the development of these AI, right? So no one wants to kind of essentially cripple yourself in an arms race, right? Why would you do that, right? So it's basically, let's raise and see who wins first. And then once we once we have a winner, then we'll we'll decide. It might be too late then, but but I think the dynamics of this arms race makes it very difficult.
Well, there's a report that just came out. Somebody just sent it to me from Cisco. I get maybe they were the sponsors of it, around kind of the kinds of occupations and how much AI is becoming a need to have skill, and all the different kinds of ways that you could use it. And one of the things it pointed out is like everybody says how critical it is to have experience with governance, with AI governance, and also like integrity of using AI. And then all these, oh yeah, we need people like that. But you just talked about the arms race, and you, I'm sure you have a lot of people coming to you trying to figure out a lot of this stuff, how to use it, what it's best used for, all that kind of stuff. If you had to guess, how many people or what percentage of people come to you with questions more around how can we use it to get ahead? How can we use it as a competitive advantage versus percentage of people who ask you about governance and about doing it right? What's the kind of the equation? This percent for that, this percent for that. What's the breakdown?
Yeah, it definitely is a lot more around kind of the how to use this, and to put a number on it is kind of hard because it's different, very different groups of people. Certainly, companies, startups are very focused on this question of how do I use this, right? And then academics, who are kind of like to think about things, and they're not under the same kind of pressure, right? Investors, they're not under same kind of pressure. Then so those are people who are more okay. Maybe we should demand some of this, right? To make sure that this AI is developing in a way that the outcome will have the outcome that we want, right? And so it's yeah, I would say probably 80% to 20.
Wow. Okay, so it's like a 4-to-1 basically.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean that those 80% don't care about the governance and ethical AI and responsible AI. They do, so we do too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
it's prioritized lower than some of those other things.
Yeah, I mean, it's always kind of first to build the AI first that solve a problem for our customer, right?
Standard.
And then you kind of fit in there, right? Okay, what and then after you have that, then you ask the question of, okay, is this ethical? Is this responsible for the user? Is it responsible for the organization? So those things are put in usually as a sort of an afterthought, or maybe not afterthought, but just kind of not. It's not
a second thought, maybe, as opposed to the initial. Yeah, okay.
Exactly. It's not the always the first thing that drives the development of these AI, right? So
business gets driven to do more business.
Exactly.
Pretty much it. Yeah, I know. I get it, but it bugs the hell out of me. It's why I don't like business. I never did. Right? I just couldn't. It's just for those exact reasons. It's like I keep thinking of this standards thing, and then and to your point that AI is constantly learning, it's corruptible, which means it has to be an oversight body actually. Mm-hmm. But the funny thing is, and it goes to your point, that a lot of these people, because of the arms race, so to speak, don't want to involve themselves in regulatory efforts, don't want this get involved with the standards committee because it'll take away time from the arms race. And the funniest thing about it is they're missing such a big business point by being the ones driving the standards. Like if they don't get that part, they're idiots, and they need AI to just think, to drink coffee.
Yeah, I think there are some effort around there, right? So all this agentic, development is going on. I think one of the most important things is to develop sort of a standard of communication, right? So basically, no agent can do everything, right? So basically, I kind of overheard a little bit of your discussion before I came on, right? Basically, so you have Gen AI, right? And there's OpenAI essentially have a development roadmap kind of for how do you go the development of these Gen AI, how do they develop into AGI, right? So it starts with the chatbot, with the large language model, right? We all know it. It has problem. It hallucinates. It has all that problem, right? So and then, but you can mitigate those using retrieval augmented generation and all that stuff, right? And then the next stage is what we call these large reasoning model, right? So these are in OpenAI's kind of language, right? Those are the O series of model, right? The O1, O3, right? Whereas the language model is the 3.5, 4.0, 4.0. Now we have 5, right? So those are the language model, right? And then the reasoning model, right? So they can reason and solve problem and write code, right? And be essentially solve problem that actually have a definitive answer rather than some of these more creative tasks that doesn't have a right answer. You ask AI to write a poem, there's no right answer to that, right? But if you ask AI to write a code to solve some problem, or solve this problem, engineering problem, there is an answer, right? And that's verifiable. So the reasoning models are really good at that, right? But to get from there to agent, the difference between that and the third level, which is agent, is that these large reasoning models, they're already so smart that they could, be outcompete like essentially human experts in their own domain. Okay, they're so smart. They're smarter than they're PhD level smart, right? They can answer any question that you could ask, that better than any human could, right? So but the thing is that for example, like you could ask them like, okay, how do I build this table that's in front of me, right? And it could tell you all the materials you need, and how do you cut the wood, how to assemble them, the legs and everything, how to paint them, and how every detail of what you need to build that table, right? But at the end, you don't have a table, right? You are the person who have to follow those instructions to actually build that table. Now, agent, that's where agent comes in. Agent comes in because agent can now use tool, right? The ability to use tool give them the ability to take action, right? For example, if you give them a tool of like a credit card, access to a credit card, right? They can go out, order the materials, right? Order the wood, the material, the saw, the screws, driver, the nails, the hammer, everything. Order those, right? And it will, maybe another tool is to control robotic arm, API to control robotic arm. So it can now put those woods and things together, right? To actually construct a table for you. So that's the difference between the LLM and the LRM and agent. The LLM and LRM are passive. They're really smart. They could tell you to do everything and anything, but they can't actually do them until they have a tool that give them the ability to take those actions, right? An agent, the difference is that now they can actually access those tools to take actions, right? So now that brings back to that standard question, because now, no agent can do everything in the world. No agent can have access to all the possible tools in this world, right? So what that means is that agent needs to kind of somehow call upon other agents for help when they need it, right? And that communication protocol need to be standardized, right? Because otherwise, it's like, if you speak a language that's just different than me, right? I'll be asking you for help in one language and you respond in a different language, and I just don't know what you want, right? And I can help you if we can't communicate, right? So same thing. So these agents need to be able to discover what other agents are capable to do, right? What they can do, what their turnaround time is, they can negotiate, right? Maybe there's 5 agents that could accomplish your task that you couldn't do, but one has a better turnaround time, one may be cheaper or whatever. You could negotiate how you want to accomplish your goal, right? Through this communication. But the key thing is that communication protocol, right? It's called agent-to-agent protocol. It needs to be standardized, right? And that's being developed right now, right? And so there are a lot of cross company, cross industry effort to develop that ADA protocol. as well as some, a lot of people know about this MCP. MCP is more for the language model to know what tool they have access to, right? So the MCP is essentially a way for model context protocol is another protocol, is for a language model, or whether it's a language model or reasoning model, to essentially discover, okay, what tool do I have, right? And I have access to a credit card. Okay, then what should be the API call to access this credit card? What should be the input? What's required, and all that requirement, right? And when can you use it? When you cannot use it? Do you need permission from the user? All that stuff, right? If you control robotic arm, right, that's the API, right? Then how do you call that API? What's the format? What's the first input, second input? What's the format, right? They need to be, so all that need to be specified through the MCP for the language model to be able to use it, right?
That's amazing. So that kind of brings up a really number of questions. Actually, one of the things that's interesting is this. It goes back to LLMs and reasoning models and agentic even having the ability to talk to each other. So, for example, right, that's historic. I mean, if you think about it, you look at the evolution of software and enterprise software. First thing that happens, so Salesforce develops its software, Oracle develops its software, somebody develops its, and then people develop. Well, they realize, okay, well, we have an Oracle system, we have a Salesforce system, we have to communicate somehow. So somebody develops MuleSoft, and then it was middleware, and then it became APIs, and then it became. But at a certain point, the common standards began getting used so that they could integrate. Then we went into AI, and now on the enterprise tech level, it's kind of reached a level where, say, ServiceNow can communicate with Copilot. ServiceNow now can communicate with Copilot, right? So it's sort of the almost the, I call it not even the API level, really, and just an evolutionary sense, the middleware levels now, right? Where they starting, companies like MuleSoft made a fortune being able to figure that out and how to get things to talk to each other. I'm doing all these home automation things, and there's like at least 10 standards, 10 different communications.
Some protocol, right?
Right. Zigbee and Wi-Fi and Z-Wave and MM-Wave and all this. But they finally realized, okay, well, that's good that we have these standards and they work, and each have some are local and some are, over the air and so on. But we kind of need something more universal. So they've developed, well, now they have matter over thread, right? And that's a universal standard that's being accepted. So they're advancing. So with agentic AI, it's got to get to that point too, for it to really be what it's going to be. Because and then that goes to your other point about the tools, and that really got me thinking. And especially when you said credit card, because I thought, well, that means, if I say to the API, to the agentic AI, hey, I need you to, okay, agentic, it goes in, it looks at the system, said, oh my God, we've got to replace these 10 parts. And it doesn't have a credit card. It can do all it wants to say it. It's not going to do it because it can't get the part.
It would tell you, right?
Right, but it can't. It's not going to
order it, and it would tell you exactly how to do it, but you can't do it because
now,
access to those tools.
If you give it access, which I guess that's part of what you see.
Exactly.
Then you get to the point and say, well, if it learns, the one thing that's interesting, those kind of tools, at least at this point, it actually can't create itself. There's no, at this point. Now, could it build out a credit card? Yeah, it could 3D extrude a piece of plastic with numbers, but there's systems behind that. There's securities behind it. It's going to break in and take over the system, right? In order for that to even work, meaning there's a lot more to it than just, okay, here's a credit card. Because one of the things that did occur to me is it's still not at the level, as much as people are talking about sentience and all this other crap. And again, it's not really crap, but you get the point. It doesn't know how to, it will not work without the access to the tools that human beings created. It won't. It just can't.
There's some, I'll qualify that a little bit, right? There are some tools. So what are these tools, right? So to an agent, right? These tools are essentially some kind of API, wrapped in the MCP server or something like that, right? So, and these tools can have, many things, right? Could control, if they actually are API to a software, right? yeah, maybe they could write it themselves, right? But they still need to compile it, right? They could have all the code that written. Okay, let's say I write the entire. Let me just say, okay, I want to create a marketing kind of campaign, right? And then if you ask a large reasoning model, it would tell you that, okay, first go to your CRM, analyze your customers and segment them, in whatever way that you want, right? And then you want to create some targeted, email for each segment, and then send them the email, and so on. So they give you all the steps, right? So first of all, immediately, well, if you don't give it access to your CRM, then they can't get the customer.
Right.
So if we have to give them access to that first, right? And then the second thing is that, well, you need to generate an email for each one of those segments, right? So you could write, once you give it access to the customer, it has those data, and you actually can segment them, by writing some code to analyze those data. And now you can know the segment, but you can generate the email to send to each one of those segments, which it can do, right? But at the time when you need to actually send the email, it can't, because it doesn't have access to an email program. It would just tell you could cut and paste each one of those emails and send it to your segment yourself, which would take you a long time, right? Or you give it access to an email server, right? Well, then you can say, well, can it write the email server? Yeah, you can, because that's software in nature, right? You can write the entire code base of the email server, but who's going to compile that? Right?
There.
So you still need a compiler, right? You still need it. So that's another tool you must have. So, yeah, even though AI can write the tool, write a lot of code to that's actually for even some of the software tool that you may have access to, it still needs to compile those, right, into binaries or executable programs, right, before you can actually use them, right? So that's where I said that I qualify a little bit, because some of those tools, like a robotic arm or something in the physical world, certainly can't do that, because you need a whole access to an entire manufacturing kind
exactly
of assembly line, right, in order to create the robotic arm, right? But but if it's actually just a piece of software, it's still, even though you could write the code, right, that can compile that software, you still need to access to a compiler in order to get that, right? So that's easier, right? And actually, a lot of the agentic framework now actually give these agents the ability to execute code, right? Essentially, not just generate the code, generate it, compile it, and call it to execute it, right? So that's actually being addressed, right? So that may come sooner. If it's actually in the software world, maybe it could start to, create some of the tools that you need to execute some of those actions, right? But we're not there yet. Yeah.
Well, we're there now, because it's a little after the top of the hour. That was great. And as Alan said, I will echo what Alan said. Loving this. I'm not going to thank myself.
You can. You're just reading.
I'm just reading. But yeah, there's so many things. And before we brought you on, Michael, Paul and I said, you get asked certain questions, I'm sure, all the time, and we're trying to, like, maybe broaden the kind of things that we ask you, because we don't just want this to be like just the enterprise discussion of AI or whatever, but there's so many big implications for what's going on. It's beyond just the individual company, but there's just so much. So we want to broaden it out a bit. And thanks for playing along with us with this kind of discussion, because quite honestly, if that article hadn't come up, and if I hadn't just been messing around with this Mark Andreessen quote, we wouldn't have had this kind of conversation. And I'm glad we did. So thanks for making time for us every month, third Thursday.
I think the next one, though, you're not able to do, correct?
Yeah, I think you are also not going to be able to do, right?
No, well, we'll be at Oracle, actually.
Yeah. So almost every month. Wow. It sounds like the Who is coming in. But anyway.
That's my phone. Yvonne's calling.
Oh, okay. Well, you might want to get that one.
Yes, I do.
We'll get them back in November. It's hard to believe that we're already coming up on November. But let me mute Paul for a second.
Just stay on the phone.
I think I muted myself. All right. Thanks. We'll see you in November. And these are great. Thanks again for playing around. And if there is anything that you want to talk about that you think is not getting a lot of conversation that needs to be, let us know, because we want to talk about that stuff too. So in the meantime, thanks for Michael for joining us. Ran a little late, but ego it was worth it. Alan says it was worth it, so that's all that matters. We will see you next week, or I might not, because I'm actually on jury duty next week. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. We'll see. Hopefully I will, but yeah, we'll see.
We'll find out. Stay tuned.
Wow, that was a nice cliffhanger. Anyway, on behalf of Michael Wu, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Players, and once again, we have to say goodbye.
Hey, Minnie. See ya.
Hello to Minnie, then goodbye to Minnie. We'll see you guys next week.